Hello there, thanks for tuning in to Adjucana, the Advanced Racing Analysis. So we are at the halfway point of the Indycar season, almost halfway point. We've gone through 6 races and there's about 8 more races left. And so this is pretty much the halfway point. And I'm just going to go through the full-time drivers and see how well they're doing and give my thoughts on them and also compare them to my IndyCar preview. So my IndyCar preview, I think, pretty much still holds up. So if you actually watched it, it's a good guide. So I think so far things are falling into place. So for the most part, things are falling into place. Last place out of the full-timers, Marco Andretti. I don't think it was unexpected, even though he's on a team that was rated as a top team. So I think it's not unexpected for him to be last. I think right now with him, maybe sports cars might be calling. It's just, he could find good sponsorship. Wouldn't it be nice for him to end his career with a few race wins, top level race wins, instead of being just also ran IndyCar driver. If he went to IMSA or WEC, he could find some top level drives and find some good podiums. And I think that could work out very well for him. But he probably doesn't think he's ready for that. But I think it will be a good option. Also, Rinus Veekay. So at Carpenter, that's a good car, but not everybody can get the best out of it. It's not really considered a good car like one of those Ganassi or Penske cars, but it's a car that you could make good with, depending on what type of driver you are. But he's still a rookie. He finished second in Indy Lights, but he's still a rookie, so I guess he can be given the benefit of the doubt if Carpenter is willing to keep him. Hopefully next year, he might possibly deliver. And number 19th, Zach Veach. Like I said, this story is kind of getting old. So yeah, I expected a lot more, especially with the hype surrounding him. Number 18, Charlie Kimball. He's not him as well. He's still an IndyCar, but so I think this is what sets IndyCar apart from a series like Formula One. Even in sports car, people don't stay there in drives. In the professional drives unless they're producing. So IndyCar probably is kind of unique there. Sports car you can be there. For gentlemen drivers can be there as long as they want, as long as they're producing the sponsorship. But Formula One, even if you have the sponsorship, you're not going to be there as long as you want, because somebody else with the same sponsorship is just so competitive that somebody else with some sponsorship or somebody who's a better performer, who's backed by a strong team, can boot you out. So I think IndyCar is kind of unique in this, that as a top level series that a driver can just stay in as long as they want. So I think that's the only thing that brings IndyCar down. Takuma Sato, he's 17, so I expect him to be performing better. Right now, Graham Rahal is 6th overall in the standings, and Takuma Sato is 17th. That's quite a big difference. It seemed like Graham Rahal came out with a vengeance to say, okay, because no one really expected Takuma to beat Graham Rahal last year. Because, yeah, I just didn't expect it. I'm sure he didn't expect it. I'm sure his advisors, his engineers, his strategists didn't expect it. I'm sure they have spoken to him like, look, this is not unexpected. Even the sponsors, I'm sure have said that, my Jack, even maybe David Letterman, Mike Lanigan, I'm sure they've said something that, look, we're not expecting this. He's a Formula One driver, he got good sponsorship, and, he's good, but we don't expect him to beat you. And I'm sure, so he came out with a vengeance saying, okay, I'm not going to let myself down like this. I'm going to come out swinging. So, and that's why he did, and that's what he needs to do. And that's what he's doing. Number 16 is Jack Harvey. He almost outperformed his ranking and where I think he should be. Road America, he qualified 2nd, and also at Indianapolis on the road course, he also qualified 2nd, and he almost made it, but it just didn't happen. It just didn't happen for him. Having a fast qualifying car and having a fast car in the race are two completely separate things. So I think, so that's what's catching him out, and they're probably hoping, okay, he's a fast driver, so we can make the car fast and loose, and he's going to be able to get it done. But in the race, it's a whole different thing because the fatigue sets in, and even the components of it, it's not drivable. That's what I think. Maybe there's more to it, maybe he's just, so I think that's what's catching him out. So that's why he's having all these incidents, and they also have mechanical trouble. So yeah, so I think that's happening. But it could happen. He could make a podium, so because Meyer Shank is a good outfit, and he could make a podium, especially with the Penske and Acura splitting up with the ARX. I'm sure Mike Shank is on the phone with HPD like, get me those two cars, those ARX cars. So while you're at it, can you get me some more budget for my IndyCar operation? So I'm sure he's talking furiously on the phone with HPD on the phone right now. So yeah, so hopefully that, hopefully something comes out of it. Ryan Hunter-Reay, number 15. I think right now he's just hoping for a win. He's just hoping for any win, so all he should be driving for are wins. That's it at this point. He should just be driving for wins because he's not going for the championship. So he's just going to hope for wins just for his sponsor to be seen. And yeah, that's it, or podiums. And I think that's what he needs to do. It seems like he's still got some speed. I just don't want him to end his career like Tony Kanaan, just slogging through the field, but there are other young people that could use that ride, 14th overall is Conor Daly. So right now, I think we have seen the best of Conor Daly. It was being suggested that he's not getting a proper chance in IndyCar, and he's a journeyman, so that's why his results are not really, up to par as what's expected, especially with his name, because his name is what's giving him all these chances, and because of his name, he's expected to be kind of somewhat of above average. People are expecting that. But the truth is that he's had several chances in sports cars, and it didn't quite pan out. He had so many crashes, and he was fast, but he couldn't beat some of the better sports cars drivers, and it didn't work out. So then he came to IndyCar. He didn't quite want to stay in sports cars, so he came to IndyCar, and people are also expecting him to be, do something because of his name. But right now, we can safely say that we have seen Conor Daly's level. His level is where he's at, and because he has the Ed Carpenter car, and okay, in his defense, he's part-time at 2 different teams, and together that makes a full IndyCar schedule for him. So he's a full-timer, but he's part-time at 2 different teams. But one of the team is Ed Carpenter Racing, and Ed Carpenter Racing is generally a good bet on road courses. Not all the time, but if you're a good driver, you can make it happen. Mike Conway and Joseph Newgarden. So that's all the evidence we need. So it's happened, and people still expect that, and I'm sure Ed Carpenter himself is still expecting that. So that's why he's been going through drivers, trying to find that next Mike Conway or that next Joseph Newgarden, and so far it's not happening. But Conor Daly so far has been better on ovals than on road courses. So what that says is that ovals generally depends mainly on the car. On road courses, it depends a lot more on the driver's input and the driver's driving skill. So I'm sure a lot of team owners are seeing this, and so now they can say, okay, now we know his level, because if he was the next big thing, we would see what he could do in the Ed Carpenter Racing car. And that's something I mentioned in my preview, that this is put up a shut up moment for him with the Ed Carpenter Racing car. Number 13, Alex Palou. So in my preview, I did mention this, that people might say that Ed Carpenter's cars are generally better than Delacoin Racing cars, but I put Delacoin ahead of Ed Carpenter, and that's because of this. They have 2 full-time drivers. So 2 full-time drivers, it's a steadier relationship, and they can share information back and forth, and the drivers know that they are in for the full season. So you have time engineers know that it's a steady relationship, so they can work throughout the season till the end of the season. And Alex Palou, he's a rookie, and he got a podium already at Road America, so that was good for him, and he had never been there ever. So I think he's going to get better, and In my preview, I mentioned that he's going to beat Santino Ferrucci, but right now Santino Ferrucci is actually 11th overall, so Santino is ahead of him. But personally, I expect Alex Palou to have a better grasp of the IndyCar chassis and kind of get better and skyrocket, past Santino Ferrucci. But we'll see. So I might be wrong, but we'll see. Now, Santino Ferrucci himself is not bad because he's just in his second year and he's still learning, and they're doing pretty good. So I think that's where the car is supposed to be, and with the podium, that's a bonus.